Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Thrive with Lyme online summit, the secrets to achieving and healing Lyme through mind, body, and spirit. My name's Elizabeth Elliott with Fusion Stretch and Wellness in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm excited to welcome Dr. Susan Eisen to
Hi,
what? Hi, I did say that right?
you did.
Okay, good. So I want to welcome Dr. Susan Eisen to this episode, and I want to read you a little bit about who she is. And so stay tuned. Okay, the founder of TikTok Naturals is Dr. Susan Eisen. She is a holistic chiropractor and recent contributing author in the Weil Integrative Medicine Library series. She is in private practice in Manhattan, New York. She started the company after being bitten by a tick in the middle of winter and developing acute Lyme. She was left with a strong phobia of walking in the grass. And who would imagine that you could be bitten by a tick when there was snow on the ground? With an education in biochemistry, Dr. Eisen developed a natural, effective formula based on organic essential oils. After a chance meeting with Allie Hilfiger, Dr. Eisen moved forward with her plan to launch this product. So I'll stop there because I know the biography continues, but tell us a little bit more about yourself, your experience with Lyme, and how TikTok Naturals was born.
So, yes, as I said, I had been bitten by a tick in the middle of winter in Morris County, New Jersey. Very bizarre. At that point, didn't have a lot of knowledge about Lyme disease. Of course, I had heard about it, um, but I really didn't have a very good understanding of ticks and all the diseases that they carry. So I did like a very quick, study of all of that. Um, at the time, I had no idea that I had Lyme disease. I just knew something was wrong with me, and I was very fatigued and sleeping and just groggy. And I felt like I had literally fog in my vision, like walking in a cemetery at midnight, except it was daytime. And so I started doing research, and just listening to my intuition kept telling me Lyme disease, Lyme disease. And I set the bar high for myself, but I pretty much had decided at a certain point that I definitely had Lyme disease. And I ran to the doctor that practiced next door to my office in Montville, New Jersey. And um, I also did have a very mild bullet rash or erythema migrans. And so, armed with that, I went to see this man, and it was very difficult. He gave me 14 days of antibiotics and told me to come back and tried to talk me out of getting the doxycycline. I had done my research at that point and already knew that I needed at least 30 days. And this was just random, but I went to get my hair cut, and the woman who was cutting my hair was friends with Matthew Modine, and he had Lyme disease. I just had mentioned that I'd just been diagnosed with Lyme, and he was actually the person that told me, you need 45 days of antibiotics. And I just was like, wow, okay, I have 14 days, and my doctor, I'll be lucky if he gives me 21 days. And I knew that this could be a life changing and devastating illness. But to make a long story short, I went back to the doctor. He tried to show me in the Merck formulary, like, oh, look, one, doxycycline 500 milligram is all you need. And I just politely asked for the rest of my prescription. And then I had contacted some other physicians I knew, and luckily, one doctor that I refer patients to from my practice gave me the additional. So I was able to get my 45 days and move on. But I had a very severe case of neurological Lyme. I short-term memory loss, word retrieval issues, dysphagia, aphasia, you name it, and just really severe fatigue. but I was still working throughout everything, taking probiotics. That was the limit of what I did. And then at the time that I was doing all my research, that's where I found out, hey, there's really nothing natural out there that does what it's supposed to do, just from my biochemistry background. And so I kind of put it in the back of my head. And then, when chance had it, I was able to tell a publicist patient and friend of mine about what was going on. And within 2 days, she invited me to an event um, at in New York City and told me she really she didn't go into it, just that she wanted me to meet somebody. And that's when I met, she introduced me to Ali Hilfiger and said, this is, a doctor I know. And, she had Lyme and she's developed a product that can prevent Lyme. And basically the very next day, we were all in the showroom at this fashion house, and not Ali's, but and that's where TikTok Naturals was born, if you will. I didn't even have a product. There was no name. It was just a formula in my brain. And so that's how it all started. And um, so as I was saying earlier, and you can read about this on the website, tiktoknaturals.com, the difference between this product and all other natural products is that this product is hydrophilic, meaning the carrier oil is water loving. Most of the other natural repellents are water, they're hydrophobic, which means they're waterproof. But the problem is that when you put waterproof carrier oils, and you also need to put additional products or ingredients in to make the product adhere and work with the essential oils. Because my product is hydrophilic, the organic essential oils, everything just blends beautifully together, and it just sticks to your skin. It's not greasy. It's anti-aging also, but it does have bioactivity for 4+ hours. So it's a really excellent product. It smells good, and it just does what it's supposed to do. And for me, I first made the product, or thought of making the product, because after all of my OCD and phobia of walking in the grass, I just felt that I needed to make something to protect myself and my family, and by extension, anybody else. It's very, very scary thing.
Oh yeah, I know that when my daughter got Lyme, she definitely didn't have anything on her skin at that time. I think we've probably been a little bit more relaxed when it came to ticks. We definitely were using something natural when the kids were small for mosquitoes, but that was just like in when we were on our porch or in the backyard, which obviously, you can get a tick anywhere, right?
Well, and of course, what we all need to understand is that mosquitoes are carrying Borrelia burgdorferi as well.
Mhm.
So, it's just been passed all around the little buggy,
Right.
ecosystem: spiders, fleas, mosquitoes, ticks, all of them. They're all carrying something, and they're biting us, and by extension, infecting us, and we're not aware. So,
Right.
I feel at this point, and I hope this doesn't sound, um, I hope that your I don't know, followers and people viewing will understand that I do absolutely feel that climate change has just completely upturned the problem. And it's everywhere now. We're just blanketed with ticks and bugs that are carrying diseases. So it's a big problem.
Yeah, and I think people don't like when my daughter got bit, which I've said in some of the other interviews. I didn't really think that she could have Lyme. I just sort of, I mean, I took her right away, actually. So I do want to ask you, she had the Western blot test. When you
Mm.
went to the physician next door, had you had the Western blot test?
I actually was completely clinically diagnosed and treated because I had the erythema, and I remembered having a scab on the back of my neck, which seemed so bizarre to me. When I decided, oh my goodness, I think I have Lyme disease, and started reading up on the devastating effects of this illness, I started remembering things that happened some weeks prior. And I went to the doctor next door to my practice. He knew that I was a chiropractor. I think he indulged me because of that, but I had to fight so hard just not to be gaslit by him as well. And, I feel bad saying that, but I feel that it's a huge problem in the Lyme community that we all have to advocate for ourselves. And because I was a doctor and a scientist and a researcher, I did actually study molecular biology and biochemistry. Going to chiropractic was a bit of a left turn in my life, but I wanted to be a medical researcher. So I'm not afraid of reading a research study. And I just refuse to take no for an answer. And it's devastating how many people are just listening to their doctors, and doctors are steering people away from Lyme disease. Oh, it can't be that. And it absolutely is. It's just out of control.
So is there a test that you think is
I
more accurate
I
or more
do.
accurate when it
I do. I mean, I absolutely wish there was a better genetic-based test that was cheaper, but the 2 labs that I like are DNA Connections, which has a very good urine-based test, and a full Lyme panel. Some people feel that maybe they're positive too much of the time, but from what I've seen with the patients that I've sent off for testing, it seems fairly accurate to me. Also, IGeneX is an excellent lab test, both blood work and urine. The only problem, again, is that it's very expensive, and the only insurance that will cover it is Medicare. None of the other insurance companies will cover it, and it's very cost prohibitive for so many people.
Mhm. So then they often go without treatment or without the correct treatment?
Well, I can't tell you how many patients I have who have said to me, "Oh, I was tested for Lyme and it was negative," and they just had the worst OCD that you could imagine. And for me, that resonates because I had severe neurological Lyme and I was so OCD, it was crazy. I could barely leave my house in the morning. I just couldn't convince myself that I didn't shut off the coffee machine and I was buying Starbucks every day. And I couldn't convince myself that I was locking, my door and that it was properly locked. It was terrible. I couldn't convince myself that I didn't shut off the flat iron. It was just it was very difficult to get through the day. And I do want to say that as I was on antibiotic therapy, and because I was able to get started on antibiotic therapy within probably about 4 to 5 weeks, as I was taking the doxycycline and I was very adherent to the times and not taking any dairy, taking probiotics in a small window,
Mhm.
um, pushing it like in that small 6-hour window that I was able to have some dairy and taking my probiotics then, uh, all of my OCD symptoms started to just ameliorate, and go away. And so that was very telling for me. But again, I'm a chiropractor, I'm not a medical doctor, and a lot of people, they just want to talk to what the MD is saying, and they want to believe what the MD is saying. And it's sad because I feel that there are a lot of people who have Lyme and they just don't think that they do. And even getting them to retest is just mountain too high. So,
Now,
you know,
go ahead.
I was just going to say it's why I'm so um, grateful to the Lyme documentaries that are currently circulating, The Monster Inside Me, and also The Quiet Epidemic, which is currently out. They have so much information, and I know that a lot of people who have Lyme disease are afraid to watch the movies to be triggered, but I almost feel like it's essential viewing because we need to get the message. We need to understand what's really going on and why the CDC and these regulatory agencies that are supposed to be protecting us and disease and infectious disease, why they're not, why they've turned away from this. And it's absolutely epidemic levels. It's the biggest infectious disease after COVID, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it seems
But
more and more research I do that seems to be the case. And the thyroid issues, the hormonal imbalances, the gut microbiome, the brain fog, the neuro. I mean, like I have brain retrieval. It makes me want to go out and get a test. Like I had just really learned about the Lyme rage
mhm,
and the monster inside me. I had no idea actually. And having a daughter, I wanted to educate her too. So we watched that film, and I had no idea the severity
yes.
that some and the severity of the symptoms some people experience. And I definitely didn't know the CDC did not recognize it as a chronic illness. Um,
It's very sad, and I absolutely also recommend watching The Quiet Epidemic. I just saw the movie last Thursday, and I will tell you, I cried through both movies. I really did. And um, because I knew like people, I knew Dr. Spector, and it was hard and sad, but it's essential viewing for anybody um, to understand that they have to advocate and they have to do something to protect themselves, like 24/7. I'm going to tell you, I got Lyme a second time from a spider bite in my house
so
when
would
I
you
was
say
taking a nap.
you were cured or in remission, and then would your Lyme have been retriggered because of the spider bite, or like you got it again?
I believe I got it again because by the time I got the spider bite was in 15, and at the time I was already working with Global Lyme Alliance, TikTok was already in the market space. I knew a lot more. And I remember getting the bite and thinking, oh my gosh, spiders can carry Lyme disease. And I didn't do anything because I thought, well, let me just wait and see if anything happens. And nothing happened for 2.5 years. And my symptoms were completely different than the first time. The first time was severe neurological Lyme. The second time, it was a much milder Lyme, but I had burning under the feet and migrating joint pain, which I had absolutely no neurological deficits whatsoever. I had no aphasia, dysphagia, no memory loss, nothing like what I went through in 2008. But um, I thought that I had Bartonella. And by 2015, I was on the board of directors for Sam's Spoons Foundation, which is a Pennsylvania Lyme Foundation, doing a lot of work in Harrisburg. And basically, that's when I met Dr. Spector. And I mean, I sat right down next to him at the party before the TikTok event, and I just wanted to pick his brain. And I told him I think I have Bartonella because he was, in fact, a Bartonella expert. And basically, he looked at me and he said, "You don't have Bartonella, you have Lyme disease." And I was shocked. And I think it was because I had none of the Bartonella rash on my body. I don't have any striations or anything like that. And that was a little surprising. But I then, at that point, started taking some of the natural medicine protocols that I put my own patients on. One product, which I'll tell your viewers, which is excellent, is called Acute Immune Benefits by Da Vinci Labs. I don't know why a lot of people don't use it, but that stuff is just like magic. And I took it, for, I guess I went through two full bottles. I actually doubled up the dosage for 6 weeks, and I was almost completely in remission. I had eye floaters that maybe were there from the first bout,
Mm.
and they were from the first bout of Lyme. But after I took this maitake mushroom serum, which has beta glucans and just completely restores your immune system, boom, my floaters went away, all of my pain went away. I was just clear-headed, and I recommend that to my patients and to, I would say, anybody who's viewing this Lyme Summit.
So the Da Vinci,
Absolutely.
what's it called? The Da Vinci.
It's called Acute Immune Benefits by Da Vinci Labs. It's not easy. You can't buy it in the marketplace, but you can get it through a naturopath, a chiropractor, nutritionist. Anybody who's licensed is able to get this. Acupuncture. I don't know that all people are working with this. Um, Sometimes I feel like I'm screaming out loud and nobody's listening to me, but this is my go-to product. There are other products, obviously, that are also necessary with chronic Lyme, but this one it's amazing. Just really does the job. And it completely reboots your immune system.
Now, could you take this uh even, months, years after that tick bite, maybe even if you aren't really sure?
I take it. I still take it. I take it. I sometimes will run out and not go on it, and I'll just feel like, wow, I just need this. But it's also really not my primary, but like with the other virus that's currently circulating,
Yeah.
I have been working with a lot of patients who have, post COVID or what have you, and it's very helpful. It
Okay.
really, really just really helps to reboot the immune system without causing a cytokine storm. Very important. So,
Now, would it be good for anyone with an autoimmune condition as well?
absolutely, absolutely. Um, you know, every situation is different, and I always tell people that they should speak with their naturopath or chiropractor. You do want to work with somebody who understands functional medicine and dosing and all of this.
Right. And
So,
you are in functional medicine looking for that root cause, not necessarily slapping band-aids on there like some.
no, yeah. Yeah, I mean, for myself, I've been kind of going down that functional natural medicine path and really like just refining my protocols, looking at other proven protocols and just seeing for me where I can improve because I don't think it's a good idea for people to be taking 16 separate items for a liver, and then 16 more items for a kidney or a thyroid. So for me, it's like, where can I have like a broad spectrum of products that can kind of create synergy and just really reduce the amount that the patient is taking?
So you mentioned, I want to ask you, you mentioned a maitake serum as well. I'm sorry.
Mhm. Well, that's the product.
Oh,
It's
well,
a
yeah. So it's
the
all
acute immune benefits is
okay.
it's
Okay.
a very purified maitake mushroom serum, and even if you have mold illness, there's no mold in it. It's
Okay.
absolutely pure. So basically, it's excellent. I cannot recommend it enough.
Um, okay. Now in the movie, and you may not have the answer for this, I'm not sure. They talk in The Monster Inside Me, stevia.
Mhm.
What do you know
I haven't worked with stevia,
about
but and although I do have a very clean diet,
that?
you know, that means organic, non-GMO, no sugar, although it's sometimes hard around this time of year. I try to be as reduced dairy as possible.
Mhm.
And
Gluten free?
yeah, pardon?
Gluten free?
Gluten-free. I do have slight gluten
Mhm.
sensitivity, so I do inherently try to stay away from gluten, but sometimes I'll have gluten. I'm not celiac, but absolutely it's essential, especially when you're dealing with a stealth organism like Borrelia or even Bartonella. All of the Babesia, they are all brilliant organisms. They're not like a regular bronchitis. It's the difference, I like to say, between a flip phone and an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy. There's a huge world of difference. These microbes are so smart and adaptable, and we have to be smarter. And that's why, post therapy is important. But even, getting back to TikTok Naturals, like everything that I did with the formula was based on science and chemistry. And that's why I I do think it's really essential that anybody who is treating with Lyme or Babesia or any of these other infectious tick-borne diseases, that they do use a natural product, because DEET and chemical sprays are really too harsh on somebody who has an affected immune system and basically is immune compromised, which is what Borrelia does. It compromises your immune system, so it's harder to fight.
Yeah. So now, do you also have a pet line? I know.
Um,
I know.
Not currently. The product can be used on dogs, although there is a full pet line in the works, and that hopefully will be coming out in 2023. But currently, um, all dog owners can apply TikTok. If they wear little bandanas or what have you, you can just spray it right on. And it does work very well. So you can also just like spray it on your hands and kind of rub it over your dog. It is extremely effective and completely non-toxic for dogs.
Okay. And then this can be found at TikTok Naturals, right? .com.
Yes, absolutely. And TikTok has also been working with Bay Area Lyme. You can also find it on Live Lyme, web store and different stores. But the Morrison Center also carries the brand. But obviously, we have our website and e-commerce. So yeah, we would love it if people came and purchased directly through there. But wherever you find it.
Okay. And then you do see clients online, right? You do some
I
telemedicine.
do.
You have a telepresence.
I do. I've been doing a lot of work during the pandemic. That kind of blew up a little since we were all stuck in our homes, so to speak. Although I think I'm blessed to have been able to continue to work and see patients every day during the pandemic. Not every day, but felt like it at times. Um, and yes, I developed my telemedicine practice. And so I work with all sorts of whatever the needs of the patient are. We have different protocols for detoxing and, COVID related protocols for prevention. It's very important. There is so much that you can do to actually protect yourself by eating certain foods. And I know, obviously, for people who are vegan, they may not want to take bone broth, but bone broth is really excellent to help protect against COVID, believe it or not. And,
So
and if not, pardon?
as a preventive measure, the bone
Oh,
broth?
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Um, Absolutely. And also, if people are post-COVID, I'll have them just drink, gallons of this stuff over a course of a week or so and change their diet. It's very important. There are certain foods that are high in zinc and iron, which is something that the CDC didn't really go into, but it's very important to also watch your iron levels. And I'm sorry that I'm stepping outside of the Lyme focus
But that's
here,
okay.
but
I mean, I would and zinc too, right? Just in general, it is good for the immune system, right?
absolutely. And that's what it's all about, full of minerals and very protective. But all of this information is on my Instagram and my Facebook. I can tell you, I don't know if you're going to be telling your viewers, but it's Dr. Sue Eisen on Instagram,
Okay.
DrSueEisen. And then, of course, TikTok Naturals, TickNaturals. And I go into all of this information. There's just a warehouse of information on my Instagram. So, to help people protect themselves.
Okay, that's awesome. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Uh,
Well, thank you for asking me.
you are
I'm
so
so
welcome.
honored.
You have been a wealth of information, and it was a joy meeting you. I hope our audience
Likewise.
check out Dr. Susan's website, TikTokNaturals.com. Find her on Instagram, TikTok Naturals, and then also you said Sue Eisen.
Dr. Sue Eisen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I will see you guys tomorrow.